And look at where the Seahawks are with Kenneth Walker III. Even though Zach Charbonnet is recovering from the torn ACL, the report last week, which just happened to emerge on the day that the window opened for applying the franchise tag, Shefty reported unlikely to use either of the tags, transition tag or franchise tag, on Kenneth Walker III. Why? Well, we're going to pay him $14 million for 1 year, or the long-term contract that would become, or will we just go back to the well and draft a guy? Round 2, that's where they got Walker and Charbonnet. Round 3, round 4. You can find a guy who is cheap relative to what it would cost. Kenneth Walker III made $8.4 million in 4 years total, and it was going to cost $14 million plus to use the franchise tag. So it becomes an analytics exercise. It becomes supply and demand, unless you're a superstar. And I think that's the difference. The superstars are getting paid. The guys who aren't in that short list of game-changing, gotta have them, can't stop them, opens up the rest of the offense running backs, the other guys get thrown into this blender where some of them get paid, some of them don't get paid, some of them do one-year deals, and some of them feel like you got to take what you can get while you can get it. And I think that's why Javonte Williams took that deal with the Cowboys, because I think in their mind, we'll just go find another guy on a one-year deal and pay him $3 million, like we did with Javonte Williams. We'll find another Javonte Williams.
Yeah, maybe. But I would say that the chances of them finding another Javonte Williams are not all that great. He's pretty damn good. Now, I know he's not the superstar we're talking about and overall, and you're right. You can find running backs. You certainly can. And you can do it by committee if you want. We just saw a team with the New England Patriots for the lot of the year. Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson. That's one way to do it. But then there's other teams, like you mentioned, where they go, we got Derrick Henry. It's Derrick Henry. It's Derrick Henry. It's Christian McCaffrey. It's Christian McCaffrey. It's Jonathan Taylor. It's Jonathan Taylor, right? It's those type of guys, too, where they don't grow on trees. And they can make a big difference in your football team. They really can. And I think where we are with Javonte Williams is, okay, we know he's not that guy, right? But he's damn good. And that's the discussion of, like, right, do we pay that guy or do we go into the draft? Now you get into the Kenneth Walker situation. That one, to me, is a little different. That one, to me, would be, well, are we sure he's not a superstar? Are we sure? Because, I mean, if he didn't have to split carries with Zach Charbonnet, I would bet you he would have had 1,800 yards, and we'd be going, ooh, I think he's a superstar running back. He's of that caliber, right? He's one of those few guys that we saw throughout the year, 70 yards from the touchdown. Oh, he can score from there. 80 yards from the touchdown. Oh, he can score from there. Oh, he can break 7 tackles and get a 10-yard gain up the middle and score a touchdown. He can do that too. And you had a running back who's hurt in Zach Charbonnet and not going to be the same guy during the middle of the year next year. And your offense is based around the Shanahan run scheme. And that's where I think the Seattle one with with Kenneth Walker is a very interesting conversation. It's one where I would certainly think about more of, maybe we should franchise him. Maybe 1 year, okay, let's see where it goes. And then we can deal with it after the year is over. But damn, we're in the Super Bowl window right now. He's one of the most explosive playmakers on our team, let alone the whole league, and we're based around the running game and defense. I'll be interested to see what they do, but that's one where I could certainly, if they did franchise him, I'd go, I don't think that's crazy. At least I wouldn't.
He had 1,050 yards as a rookie.
Yeah.
905 in his second season, 573 in 2024 when he only played 11 games. I think one of the concerns is injury history could rear its ugly head again. He had 1,027 yards in the regular season this year, came on with big games in the postseason. He had like 350 rushing yards in 3 postseason games. Charbonnet gets injured. He becomes the guy who can go out and do it. I think from their perspective, and this is one of the things I always say about free agency, you've got teams that had a guy for 4 or 5 years, and they're saying, too rich for my blood when it's time to pay him. The buyer beware, because the team that knows him, not just at the end when he's chasing the bag, but the whole 4 years. And look, I'm for players getting paid every penny that they're worth, but the teams are still going to look at it and they're going to make the assessment.
Right.
And it could be to get the money that his MVP in the Super Bowl performance would justify, he's going to have to go elsewhere because the Seahawks just aren't going to do it. They're just, it feel like if If they're not going to use the franchise tag on him, now maybe they can still sign him to a long-term deal.
Yeah, maybe.
And this is the way it should be. The hell with the franchise tag. Let the guy see what's out there. Let the market set the value, whatever the market is. But if 14 for 1 year isn't viewed as a wise move by the Seahawks, then I don't know. What is his market? 10, 11, 12? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're going to find out in a couple of weeks.
The market's a little weird, right? Like you said it. There's Saquon Barkley, there's Christian McCaffrey, there's Derrick Henry, there's Jonathan Taylor. All those guys are at $14 million. Saquon at 20, McCaffrey at 19, Henry at 15, Jonathan Taylor at 14. What's weird is that James Cook, I think, is in that category, and he signed for $11 million, right? That throws things off a little bit. James Cook is making less than Alvin Kamara, and Alvin Kamara is a legend, and all respect to him, he's the man, but James Cook is better than Alvin Kamara right now, and that's where it's just out of whack a little bit. So there's no consistency within the contracts at the running back position either. But I will say, and I'll say it again, I'd be careful about just like letting a guy like Kenneth Walker, go out there and test the market. I do think he's a game-changing type of football player. They framed around running the football. And to your point about him being beat up in years 1, 2, and 3, where again, year 1 and 2, he was really good. And I would say he was really good with shitty offensive line play in front of him. I mean, not good. Like, that was the problem with Seattle his first 3 years, is we can't run the ball. We can't block anybody. We can't protect the quarterback. We can't do any of that. You see this year, they get a new play caller there, and Clint Kubiak, they improve their O-line, and you go, whoa, we have a superstar. And there was a lot of weeks where I went a little bit like we have with Jahmyr Gibbs with Kenneth Walker, where I've gone, I mean, I like David Montgomery. I like that. I like Zach Charbonnet. But if that was Kenneth Walker, that was a 60-yard gain. Instead, it was 14. And I think that's could be the value in Kenneth Walker, too. So, again, it's a tough conversation back and forth. But the Kenneth Walker one is one where for 1 year, for $14 million, for a guy that can score anywhere on the field, I would think about it if I was the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, but now they got, and we're going to talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba coming up. He wants to be the highest paid receiver in football. Rashid Shaheed is going to be a free agent. Sam Darnold's cap number goes up significantly from what it was last year in the first year of his contract. And it's not just supply and demand as it relates to incoming players. Listen to some of these names of guys that are going to become free agents at the running back position. Travis Etienne, Rico Dowdle, Breece Hall, J.K. Dobbins, Isaiah Pacheco. Brian Robinson's out there. He was a guy who was once on a trajectory for Washington. He ended up being the understudy to Christian McCaffrey last year. And now you got Brian Florio coming from run game coordinator with the 49ers to the Seahawks. Maybe they think dollar for dollar they can bring in Brian Robinson and he can do some of the things for the running game that they need to do. Not that he replaces Kenneth Walker, but dollar for dollar. That becomes the analysis. It becomes an analytics exercise. What are we getting in return for this contract? And one point on Hall. Watch the transition tag for the Jets to apply to Breece Hall at $11 million and change.
I can see that.
It gives them the chance to see what his market is.
Right.
And the other twist, and I didn't know this about the transition tag. If somebody signs your guy to an offer sheet,
right,
if you've used the transition tag, and you don't match it, not only do you get no compensation, we know that part of the transition tag, that player doesn't count toward your compensatory draft picks next year either. He just disappears.
Yeah, so that's a risk to do it.
The Jets may want to be ready to pull the transition. If the moment they catch wind that there's going to be an offer they don't want to match, pull the transition tag. And people will be like, well, why'd they do that? If they do that, that's why they did it, because then Breece Hall's departure counts toward the compensatory draft pick formula for next year.
That'll be a risky one. That'll be risky. Breece Hall, like I would say with Kenneth Walker, would go, these are one of the few guys that I would put in that upper tier of running backs to go. They can score anywhere, any place. You could throw him a screen 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage at your own 10-yard line, and he might get a 90-yard touchdown. That's what kind of Breece Hall is. There's value in that. And I'll go back to this, too, again, because I'm going to stick up for, just running backs. That's what we do. But a lot of the good teams in football right now, the ones we've been talking about, whether it was Philadelphia winning the Super Bowl with Saquon Barkley, all the years of McCaffrey and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. I know they didn't win it, but damn, we've watched the Detroit Lions and the run game and Jahmyr Gibbs and do all that, right? I think you look at that. Seattle this year, We watch Chicago dominate in the run game and do it that way. Running the ball right now is as popular as it's been in a while. Kyron Williams with the Rams at the top of the league. Boom, there we go. Oh, they're a good team too. I mean, so there's some correlation here where you go, the teams that are at the top of football, they have some good running backs and they're consistent with the running game. And the other teams that are not, they don't have very good people at those positions. And that's where, again, I'll fight for these running backs. We'll see where it goes. But the Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker one, I think are two guys that I'd go, ooh, those are tough ones there. And you better be pretty tactical about how you play this situation out, because I do think there's going to be some teams that want them.
And consider this point.
Yeah.
Breece Hall had 1,000 rushing yards on a team that finished 29th in total offense and dead last in passing.
Yeah.
So it's not like he had a lot of heat taken off of him.
Right.
It's not like there was any reason for the safety to back away from the line of scrimmage when it was time for Breece Hall to get the ball, because they couldn't do anything in the passing game, and he still had a big year. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.